Welcome to another episode of Shaki Chronicles. Thank you so much for being here and a part of this community and for listening into these conversations, for all your comments each week, your private messages, your public messages, whatever it is that you share. Know that I am grateful for it. I do believe that it is through conversation, it is through thinking that we get the clarity and the insights and what we need to be inspired to live better lives, right? No man is an island. Courageous conversations unlock us into our greatness and expressing ourselves fully and authentically. And that is why this space is here. That is why this platform is here. So thank you so much for being here. Do subscribe, do leave a comment, do like, and let's continue to be bold and courageous. I am going to share some thoughts with you today, and I pretty much am moving into a space. I'm just, following what's been coming up in my heart to talk about and to process. And I courageous conversations with ourselves is important too. Let me put that in because we get to go to places in our minds that we have blocked off or we are not willing to entertain. And I have found that when I do go in those spaces courageously, sit and look at it, just lift it up and turn it over, that there is a freedom and a level of authentic expression that happens for me when I do that with myself. And so I often encourage others to follow, just go right there. What is that uncomfortable conversation you're not willing to have with yourself first, and then perhaps in your secured relationships? That is just once you do it, you stand boldly as a new person. What is that one thing? So there goes a tip for you. Be okay with having the conversation with yourself. You'll be amazed. Today, I want to share a little bit about my thoughts on the infamous slap that took place a year ago. And I have to tell you, this is totally a new space for me because I chose in that moment to not discuss the slap and to process some things that were immediately coming up for me, things that I thought perhaps I had processed. So I want to keep this, I'm going to go in and out and keep it brief, but I know I'm going to say something that is going to support someone else. And so the slap happened, and Charles and I we were watching the Oscars. The slap occurred, and I remember having a feeling, having a reaction, having something came up for me in that moment. And I remember like going at it with Charles in that moment. And I knew that my thoughts and how I was feeling or reacting was coming from perhaps what I have experienced, saw, or occurred in my culture. I knew that that was happening. So, my tolerance or how I viewed it, I knew would have been different from quote unquote others who were blowing up the phone and blowing up the social media and doing different things. So I needed to step back immediately. And I remember even saying to Charles, I go, we're not talking about this. We are not talking about this. And I believe he was a bit like, okay, Shakira, we're not talking about this. You need your moment to process. And I did. I did need my moment to process. So here's the thing. When the slap occurred and the weeks went on and comments were being made and people had their opinions about what was right, what was wrong, they had very strong feelings towards Will. And I had to step back because for me, it's always important to be in the soul space more than the role place. And I've talked about that. The soul versus the role. I understand the celebrity and I understand the status that goes with that and whatever, but it's like, okay, the soul, right? Something has happened in the public space, on a public platform. And I usually take the stance where I'm super grateful for individuals who are working out their stuff in the public, right? Because it gives me an opportunity to reflect on my own life. So I'm thankful for them. and I keep them prayed, keep them prayerful in my thought and lifted up. And here comes the situation with Will and Chris where I needed to immediately be in prayer for their families, their loved ones, everything. That was just a decision that I had made. So I set clear boundaries immediately with friends who wanted to call me and talk about it. They had opinions about Jada, about the wife and whatnot. And it's clear boundaries. We're not talking about that. I'm sorry, I cannot hold space for you to process that. Um, let's not, that won't interfere in my ability to be your friend and whatnot, but I was just not willing to have that conversation. And here's the thing, in my experiences, in my culture, fighting or hitting someone in public or private happened. That was my culture. It happened, you know, and I was younger. I didn't, I knew it was wrong, and I was always very vocal, even when I saw it in my home. I was vocal about it as a kid. I got in trouble for it because I was vocal. Um, but it was never something that I would stand for, right? So I've seen men hit women, I've seen women hit men, I've seen angry, aggressive road ragers physically hit drivers, pow, pow, pow. That has happened. And I've seen things and I've known of things that happened in private and didn't happen in public. So it was a mixed reaction when people were having this reaction like, this doesn't happen. And I'm thinking, what do you mean this doesn't happen? Like, what world are we living in? This happens. The key is, how do we use this public situation to do some healing, right? That's where I get excited. Like, how do we use this to get some healing, to work through some stuff, to work through some forgiveness, to work through like what's next for us? Because things come up to the surface, things come up to the public because it's revealed, because it's ready to be healed, right? So that was where I was. And because I had that very strong reaction, like, I'm not going to tolerate a conversation that this doesn't happen, and be on top of the wife and I don't have any opinions about that, right? How can we use it to heal? How can we use it to show up differently? And so as I was listening to Rock's presentation on Netflix last week or whenever it happened, and when he began talking, and I understand, comedy is comedy. You can laugh at stuff. I am from I'm from the school of laughter, let me tell you. You might not have food on the table, but you can laugh, right? That's the school that I'm from, and that's the truth of the matter. That's the life of the matter. Serious stuff went down, and there was space for laughter and levity, and then let's heal. So I get it, and I get that way of expression. But one of the things that came up for me as Chris was going through the special, once he got to the end and he started talking about things, and he started talking about Jada and whatnot, the more he spoke was the more the feeling tone for me of anger and sadness came up. And, I was reminded in that moment that when things happen, that we are to stay committed and prayerful and poised to the highest outcome for everyone involved, everyone. And everyone is dealing in life with their beliefs, their culture, their experiences, everyone. And that is why one perspective is not the only perspective, right? We need everyone in the space. I was reminded by his presentation that hurt people no matter what. And it's so important to create a village. You know, I started this video saying you got to go into that uncomfortable space and conversation with yourself first, and then create a village to support you, to listen, to paraphrase. You know, that's why you hire coaches, because they're able to paraphrase. This is what I hear you saying. Um, because sometimes we're not listening to ourselves. And so the more Chris spoke about, you know, words hurt, but the slap hurt, right? But yet still, for example, there was so much slaughtering in his words. It was just that reminder and that confirmation that hurt people hurt. And we have to listen to each other, be compassionate with others, honor each other's humanity, step outside of our culture and our conditioning and our experiences, and hold space for each other. We are having you know, you know, we're in the water, we're in the ocean. We're not all on the same ship, but we all in the ocean of life, and we're all swimming, and we're all doing what we can and doing the best that we can. And if we can just honor each other and be supportive to each other, then that will be the key to us processing and living life best. And so I share all of that to say I needed to process what was coming up for me. I needed to do deeper healing and deeper releasing and deeper forgiveness and deeper owning. I needed to feel safe and comfortable talking about what I saw, what I experienced growing up, why I was able to, react the way that I react, and I wasn't able to hold space for anyone else through this process. That's what we have to do sometimes. And I'm grateful for the relationship that I have with Charles, where it's okay for me to have a moment like, we're not talking about this. And I mean, we literally did not talk about it for at least 2 weeks. And he was able to hold that space. And then as I, just unleashed, like, this is what I saw, this is my culture, you know, this is what happens. And so I'm not going to bash, I'm not going to tolerate conversation like, this doesn't happen, this is forbidden, how could you? No, I want to be in that space of humanity. I want to be in that space of your soul versus your role. I don't care who you are, celebrity, whatever. I don't care. Your soul versus your role. And how can we use these instances that's happening to heal? How can we use it to listen to each other, listen to ourselves, feeling to what's coming up for us, so that we can swim a little better. We can swim a little bit better. And the where are we going? We're simply just going into who we've always been, a unique expression of higher presence. That's all it is. We're just cleaning up. And so I leave you with that thought. I am holding Chris and Will and their entire families, and you know all the isms and the schisms and the whatnot that's going on. I'm holding them to just the highest and best expression, as it unfolds. Let this also be a lesson to deal with and what is. As we celebrate International Women's Month yesterday, I want to remind us women to be gentle with each other, to honor each other, to recognize that we're all enough, we're all beautiful, we're all lovable, we're all loved. Hold those that are telling our stories and stepping powerfully and courageously in that. And so I hold Jada to the highest and the best expression as she unfolds in a beautiful way, and to the recognition that, let me say this, and people might have a reaction, but a thing happened with Will and Chris. A thing happened with Will and Chris. A thing happened with Will and Chris. That's all it is. Let's keep Jada out of it. All right. Be with what is. That's a clue. That's a helpful clue for you. Be with what is. Let everybody have their experience. And women, stop bashing women, please. Let's deal with our stuff. Let's deal with our own stuff. Let's get in our own closet. Let's do the work, and let's support each other as we all swim in this ocean called life. So that's on my heart to share. Let's work through making life happy and joyful, even in the painful stuff that we navigate. Be mindful. I am not a model of anything. Unique, unrepeatable expression that is working through stuff and guiding others in courageous conversations and enjoying life. All right? Be mindful of that. Peace and blessings to you. And yes, let's make it a great one. Talk to you soon. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.